Hi guys, welcome to Fierce and Pretty. Honey here. It's time for another deck review, but this time this review is kind of personally really special to me because this deck, the Wild Essence Thoth, is a creation of my dear friend Lennan Smith, and you might think I would be biased. No, maybe I will be, but I went and ordered her deck from Make Playing Cards because I absolutely wanted it. I am a Thoth geek. I have several editions of the Thoth, also vintage editions like my greenie, or even the earlier versions and the finished versions. I don't know, probably 16 different versions of the Thoth. And I have Moline's Thoth decks. I have several Thoth inspired decks. So of course when Lennan created and channeled this really elemental and raw version of how she sees the essence in the cards in the original Thoth deck, of course I had to get it in my hands. So I thought that we would look at next to the greenie. I'll highlight some of my favorite cards. There are more videos of this deck in Lennan's own channel, so you can watch there. But also I've asked Lennan that if she would have time to do a little live with me someday and talk about this deck. So stay tuned for that if you're interested to hear more when we discuss about the deck with Lennan, the creator herself. But let's dive deeper into the cards. So we start our Thoth journey in the Wild Essence Thoth in this void, and I can totally see the inspiration here. Then also the Magus. I truly see the Magus in this kind of swirl of the energy, like the spark of the creation. I think it's a beautiful image. This Priestess card, I absolutely adore how it has captured the color palette, especially here in the greenie version, the softness of it all. And I think all these cards in the Wild Essence Thoth are unique in that way that some of them, there's more in the image or the idea or the meaning in the card, but sometimes there's also this amazing color similarities of these subtle palettes. And I love the underwater feeling of the Empress, the lush life. You can see like the swirling seaweeds here, and you feel like with the Wild Essence Thoth is like you're diving in to the original Thoth cards, like I'm swimming there underneath with the Empress, and the Emperor takes me to Mars. I think I'm sitting on one of those Mars rowboats and watching the scenery, and what a beautiful, simple kind of way to link the Emperor with its planetary ruler and with all this fiery Aries energy. The Hierophant card is one of these that I want to discuss more when I talk with Lennan. This is one of those examples that doesn't click in my head immediately. I kind of feel, it just makes me think like as above so below kind of thing. Look at how the stars in the sky like glimmers. But let's see, these are one of the cards that I want to talk more with her. And with the Lovers we get this bees collecting their honey, and I love how this will link up later on also. And many of these references wouldn't be clear at first, but to like real Thoth geeks, us who have been studying the Thoth deck for ages, if we zoom in to the gown of the woman there, you can see the bees there also. And with the Chariot, this is like a very current or very futuristic way of depicting the chariot, but it's still, it gives you a whole lot more movement than the original Thoth, but you really feel like you are on the wagon, on the chariot, on the way. And how to depict the balance in the adjustment card with these stones. And this reminds me of things that I do when I go walk into the forest and I make these stone pillars myself. I loved the Hermit. Hermit is often one of my favorite cards, but look at this lush wheat field, but it's in the nighttime, it's darkness. This is just a great example of how brilliant these cards can be in the Wild Essence Thoth deck. It's just amazing brilliance in majority of the cards, and I love how I look through, because now I'm looking these images behind my camera lens, and look at how beautiful and vibrant and alive these are. This water looks like you could touch it in the fortune card, and how the wheel is created from these droplets, and how the effect of the wheel when the circle starts moving, how it spreads like as a ripple. The last card is kind of softer version. It's not like these soft pinks and purples don't make me think of the horror of the Babylon as much as the last card. It's kind of a softer version, but it brings a different kind of vibe to the card. But it truly is voluptuous, the clouds in there. And because the Wild Essence Thoth is digging deep into what is the most essential part in these cards. And if we look at the Hanged Man, which is the card of the element of water, and we looked at the Hanged Man here, it's beautiful. And of course, you might all know that I'm always interested of the Death card, and I really like this Death card. Here we are really deep in the ocean, in those parts that we would never see even when we are diving, because it's too deep. Where, Osiris is with his scythe, and it's somewhere down there, and it's dark. But the energy of the Theseus it's still rising. It's doing this circle of movements. There is the dark corner in this card, and then there is the light corner in this transformational Death card. And this is what I meant when we were talking about the lovers in the art card, when the alchemical combination of that first wedding is transformed. When the bees have been on their route on collecting on the flowers, eventually they create the honey out of it. And that's a really interesting way of bringing these two cards of lovers and art together. The Devil card is, to a person who don't like spiders, this is really icky to me, but icky in a way that it really symbolizes. And if you look back there, you can see even visually why it's depicted, but also there is that binding element in it. But I really don't love spider webs that much, but this is not too icky for me to use. The Tower card popped up in my reading today, and it's just one of these cards in this deck where the coloration is beautiful. And to me, I don't know whether anybody would have known how the Ukrainian flag looks like before. I don't know. I don't think many people would have known it by just if anybody randomly would have asked you a few months ago. But now I think where we are sharing globally the support so much that the blue and the yellow just in this card, especially in this Tower card this morning, just, you know, brought up an immediate connection there that we are all feeling these days, no matter where we are, even though we are not inside the tower when it's crumbling. But it's such a big, monumental crumble that we are feeling the ripples of that effect all over the world. The star, here again, the beautiful color combinations and or the color similarities. It's just, and there's the movement in this star card, because when we look from down the earth, everything looks stable kind of sometimes in the skies, but we all are moving, even our planet. And I love how she found a moon card where there is a path kind of also there in between. And there is darkness and light also in this moon card. And the sun is kind of really similar to the green paths and the sunshine. The aeon, I loved how this could be sunset and sunrise at the same time. Like the day changes to a new one, so does the aeons. There is the end and there is the beginning. But it's up to us to figure out which one is going on. And the universe card, this is just simply brilliant. Just, you know, amazing. Just fits like a fist into the eye or whatever. Again, works like a charm. This card is one that I'm gonna bring up to my list for Lennan to talk more about. Because in this card, we don't see immediate color or elemental correspondences, and these what I find more interesting to talk about, which are not immediately clear to the eyes. The Virtue card, the Three of Wands, is a really Finnish image from up in Lapland. I really can resonate with this one, and the completion is brilliant color-wise and just in the imagery. And here I find the story getting interesting in the Five of Wands, when this makes me think about forest fires, which are not all that common in Finland, but I know from in America where Lennan lives, they are more common. Because fire, when it's harnessed, is a beautiful elemental force, but when it gets loose and it has its own mind, it can bring such destruction. And how, like after the forests have been burned, there is this new growth, there is, the nature always prevails somehow. It wins, there comes that victory. And like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And linked to this story is the hero in the Valor card. And the swiftness is again simply geniusness in this image. We have the rainbow, but also I see in that road I could drive my motorcycle like that fast. Like, even though the road is ruggedy, but you could move fast in that. And this card kind of stands out in this deck, kind of in that way that it's, because it's kind of unnatural situation. You wouldn't see moon in this way and sun in this way in the real life, even though you can see moon and sun at your sky at the same time, but you wouldn't see it this way. This is kind of, I feel like, the only unrealistic card in this deck, but I still find it brilliant. Brilliant. Look. The sun and the moon there. It's simply beautiful, even though, and the colors and the vibes are beautiful, even though I said that it doesn't look realistic in that way that most of the cards do, that you could find them with your own eyes in this world. This is a really nice depiction of the oppression card. And when I visited Auschwitz and Birkenau a few years ago, it was the toughest trip I've done ever. But I can smell that old barbed wire. I can smell that, and I can smell the wooden beams of an old railroad track. I know that if you've ever smelled that smell, you would notice that. And that was the smell of in Birkenau, in the concentration camp. And this is something that this card immediately brings to my mind. The oppression of people. I really love the court cards where all the other suits except the swords, you could find these animals in the court cards. Like here we have kind of the tiger, so it's a great way from Lennan to add the court cards as animals here. Hubby is a Leo, and I think he would love this new Prince of Wands card, which is his court card. And in the Queen of Wands, you can see the horse and you can see the animals there. And I love how when these are next to each other like this, the horses go that way, and if we switch, they're there. So these are like the clearest visual representations in the Wild Essence Thoth. Ooh, the cup suit. This one I really, really love. You can see there the overflow in the waterfall and this beauty here. And even the colors are more vibrant in the Wild Essence, but they are the same colors in a way. They just come up brighter than from the brush of Lady Frida Harris. It's the abundance, luxury, this flow of water. And here I love in the Five of Cups how the landscape is getting barren. There is still some water there, but it's starting to look a lot more hopeless in that situation. But then kind of at the end, if you would still follow this water, even though there's not much left in the disappointment card, you could like end up in this place of the Six of Cups and pleasure. Here's a secluded beach where there's nobody hanging around, where you could just enjoy and see the end of the dry land there, and getting more water again. And the debauch is brilliant, like this icky oiled water. And here in the indolence also we have kind of like the empty cups, and then still some water flowing, but there is the combination of dry and water in this. And this is beautiful with the Nine of Cups. These beautiful water, are these, I don't know if they are water lilies or what they are called in English, but easy to see the link. And this is just beautiful. It's just like perfect. If you would find the 10 of Cups in the Thoth deck in nature, it would definitely look like this. And again, a lovely set of cards. The turtle in the princess, the eagle in the Scorpio card and the Prince of Cups. I'm not sure what's the name of this bird in English, but is it a stork? Not sure. But here they are. And then this little dude from the cup of the Knight of Cups is there. Then we jump in to the Suit of Swords. beautiful. I love the Aurora Borealis. We've been seeing those lately here in Finland. I love how these cards play with the light and the darkness. And all the suit of swords is really cloudy, airy, because we are in the mental world. And if we just imagine air, you can't see air. Air isn't something that you can see, even though it surrounds us and is our lifeline. But I think clouds are a brilliant way of bringing the element of air into an image. This one I really liked in the science card is like they are measuring the air, they are making data. So we are in the realm of air and thought and thinking and kind of like in that science world when we are creating science with the element. And this one I loved because I've been struggling. Sometimes us non-English speaking people struggle with the word like futility. And then if you watch it, if you look it from a dictionary, you might not still get it that well. But I talked about this with Lennan and James Feeney, who are Americans, so they can explain that. And I find those steps that lead nowhere a great depiction of the word futility. And this makes me remember and learn this word that isn't a word that I would use in my normal vocabulary outside of the Thoth deck. Interference. Again, a really brilliant way of depicting that, like the science card. Cruelty in this tornado, and ruin in the Ten of Swords. It's just like this looks like, oh, nothing's gonna come out of it, but eventually something does. And this is what I meant of the court cards of the sword suit, because they don't have animals. None of these cards have animals in them. Well, okay, this one, I was lying. This one has the horse and the birds, but there we don't have, like in the other Thoth suits, see the similarity. Because also in the other court cards of this deck, there were animals, so I like that the animals are also in the suit of swords. We have them as birds in this one, even though it's not. These are an example of that, where the image isn't perfectly what it's supposed to be, or not even the colors. But then the last suit of discs, again, simple brilliance here in the ace. This one I love, I love, love, love. I adore the colors in the change card in the Wild Essence Thoth. How they are the same colors, but so much more brighter and more vibrant. And this, brilliant. And I love this. This reminds me so much, this takes me into Egypt, into history, into places, like into this pathway that I have in my tattoo, where there is the light coming there and there's the structure. I really love this card. And all the disc suits, it's kind of happening in structures. And here I love, again, I think this plant was called the ivy, if I remember correct, I'm not sure. But the color of these plants are again more vibrant out of the failure card in the Thoth deck. The prudence in that weight of taking your time to putting in that work in this row of fields of plantings, and the budding in the gain when it all starts to pay off, and when it all blooms out in the wealth card. in the 10 of discs. And here again, in the disc suit, we get the animals coming back in a way, even though there isn't a lamb in this one, but the fur reminds of lamb. And then there are the horns. Here we have the same bull in that movement, moving the Prince of Discs forward. And the Queen of Discs, we have that little mountain goat kind of Capricorn type of animal there. Exactly, this dude in real life. The last card of the deck, the Knight of Discs. This kind of brings me a strong connection to the horned god. I don't know, it just, to the animal kingdom, to the rulers of earth. So this was the Wild Essence Thoth by lovely Lennan Smith, and I will link her channel and her videos of her deck down below, and I'll let you guys know when our interview is about to come out live. Last but not least, I'll show you how the deck shuffles. This one has a nice riffle. It tends to bend after a while, so how I deal with bending of the decks with different cardstocks, I start also riffling them the other way around so that I can see the pictures, and that easily corrects that bending in a way in its time. And the hand over hand, goes really easily. So a really decent card quality. And the edges I haven't edged yet. I don't know if I want to or not. Let's see. But if you have any questions, comments on Lennan's deck, let me know down below. And until next time, bye guys.